Welcome to my world. Won't you come on in?
Hej, mit navn det er Stig Ulrichsen, og welcome to my world. I denne uge har jeg fået besøg af en lokal trommeslager. Han bor i Silkeborg, og han er ikke en hvilken som helst trommeslager, det kan jeg godt røbe med det samme. Han er faktisk ikke født og opvokset i Danmark, men han er flyttet til Danmark for en hel del år siden efterhånden. Men inden han gjorde det, ja, der rejste han rundt i hele verden, hvor han bankede løs på de her trommer. Hans navn, det er Don Powell, og de fleste vil nok vide, at han er trommeslager i Slade, hvor vi alle sammen kunne synge med på sangene helt sikkert. Og han har blandt andet skrevet den her bog om sit liv, der er til at få på engelsk. Welcome, Don.
It's nice to see you, Steve. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good.
It's great to see you again also.
Yeah, I feel good.
And I was just saying that you're not an ordinary drummer, you know,
Okay.
living in Silkeborg, but you're an extraordinary drummer because you have actually been drumming all around the world.
Yeah, it's
hitting
been
those
wonderful.
drums for I do not know how many years it is.
I forget we started in 1966. I mean, the first success we had, Steve, was 1971. And really from then on, it was just non-stop, all around the world. But, you know, I always say to people, you know, when I go back home, they say, well, what was it like in Japan, or what was it like in Poland? I said, I never have time to see anywhere. You know, it's airports, hotels and concert halls. It's not very often I get a chance to have a look round. I've always said, when all this is finished, I'd love to go around the world again, just to see the places that I've been to. You know, it'll be wonderful. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, because how was life when you were playing in the 70s, where you had all the big hits and playing all the big stadiums and places? You say it was like you're going to the airport, to the hotel, to the venue, back to the hotel, and then into the car again.
Back to the airport.
And it was you always picked up by buses or limousines?
Yeah. I mean, they'd have the promoters would arrange transport, you know, so they would meet us at the airport, go to the hotel first, check in, and then to the concert hall to do sound check, maybe eat before a concert, and then back to the hotel, and then back again to the airport the following day. I always remember this thing that happened. We were in America. We were on this 12-week tour, and it was non-stop. New York, Los Angeles, Toronto, Miami, flying every day about 3 or 4 or 5 hours. And I remember, I think we'd been there for about 3 weeks, touring non-stop. And at the end of the show, Noddy Holder, vocalist with Slade, he always used to give the city we were in a name check, like, thank you very much, Chicago, you've been fantastic, see you again. Anyway, we've been there for about 3 or 4 weeks, and it was just non-stop. And I can't remember where we were, but Noddy Holder shouted, thank you very much. And he turned around to me and says, where are we? You know, and that's what it got like, you know, you sort of lose track of where you are, because we always just say you become like a robot, you know, sort of like, say, airport, hotel and concert hall. But don't get me wrong, it's been fantastic. It really has been fantastic. I mean, travel the world, doing what I love doing, playing drums and having a great time.
Yeah. And hopefully you still have a great time living in Silkeborg.
Oh yeah, that's my new life now, living in Denmark. I've got a wonderful life with my Danish wife, and she's got 3 children from a previous marriage, and I've sort of taken them on, you know, sort of, and very often they can travel with me to concerts. I took my wife's son Andreas. I took him on tour with me as my drum roadie. I've taken him to Russia and taken him to quite a few other places, just to give him the experience and just to see, you know, how different cultures.
So later on, you had more time in the countries then, so he could see the cultures, I imagine.
Well, it's getting a lot better. I mean, it's not like how mad it was, you know, sort of, especially in the 70s, when it was just sort of like bang, 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 you know, sort of, and it got a bit sort of, not hard work, but it was just a bit disappointing when I couldn't have a look around where we were, you know, to go to all these incredible places, but never having a chance to see anywhere.
Yeah, but you got the time later on in life.
Much better, much easier now.
But you also get more relaxed, I imagine. You know, in the beginning, in the 70s, I can imagine it has been more stressed because you just had to follow up on the things you had not experienced it before. You know, It was all new to you all guys. You know, so later on in life, you get used to it, and maybe things can slow down a little bit.
That's exactly it, Steve. You know, sort of like I said, it was like sort of mayhem. You know, like crazy in the 70s, bum 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 bum, and now have much time to sort of relax and see. We take travel. We, you know, spend a lot more time traveling, so it's not like sort of mad. You know, sort of we arrange a lot more free time with the travelling, you know, and being able to see somewhere and being able to unpack my suitcase sometimes, you know, sort of. But it's been fantastic though. But I've had a wonderful life. You know.
Yeah, and we can talk a little bit about what other life you would have if you were not starting drumming back then. But now you're living in Silkeborg. How many years have you been living in Silkeborg?
It must be at least 15 years now,
15 years.
Maybe a bit more. You know, sort of. But yeah, it's not a problem. You know, with the travelling, Steve. You know, sort of the world's become a small place today. So I can travel anywhere in the world from Silkeborg, so it's not a problem at all.
Yeah, so you didn't have any worries about moving to Denmark and living in Denmark?
No, because like I said, it's the travelling. Like I said, the world's become a small place. It's so easy to travel today. You know, so it's never a problem. I mean, I've got a choice. If I need to go back to England, I've got a choice of at least 3 or 4 flights a day from Aarhus or Billund, you know, so it's not a problem.
So it's easy.
It's easy.
And what is the big difference from where you lived? Did you live in London back then?
Oh, yeah.
It was a big difference coming from a big city to a small city like Silkeborg. And you actually live a little bit outside Silkeborg also. So
yeah, no, it was wonderful. I mean, it's quite nice actually. But when I was in London, the 70s and the 80s, we were so busy anyway, recording and doing TVs, recording videos and touring as well. And also it was my drinking days, which was a few lost days there. And now I've got just such a calm, settled life with my wife and family. And I've been, like, I don't know whether you will come to this, but I've been recording with some Danish musicians, and which has been quite nice. It's you learn new things all the time. So when I'm with different people, because remember when I was Slade, we were the same band for nearly over 50 years. You know, so I think, and when I started working with different musicians, it's almost like starting over again, but fantastic. The only trouble is though, when the Danish musicians start talking to each other, because I don't really understand much Danish, I never know whether they're talking about me. You know, but they're not. But I mean, just sort of. But I've got a wonderful life, Steve.
Yeah, but one thing I was thinking about is that you have been living in big cities, you know, with a lot of traffic,
yeah,
a lot of noise, a lot
New
of people.
York, when we lived
and now you live out near the forest, actually,
by the lakes.
Have all the peace. How is that? That must have been a big change for you.
It was wonderful. I mean, I think what it was. Sorry, excuse me. Is sort of when I go to bed at night, there's no noise. And I'm so relaxed, and I wake up and there's no noise, and it's a wonderful. It's part of my life now, but I've got such a peaceful life, Steve, and I'm lucky enough to still be playing drums as well.
Yeah. And that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you actually played with some Danish musicians also, and we are going to talk about that also,
okay.
Because actually some years ago you actually quit Slade. You didn't continue in Slade. There was
right.
something happening.
Yeah.
And then Dave continued Slade alone, yeah, with new musicians. And how was that for you? Just suddenly, because you had been a little bit sick at that time.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's okay, Steve. I mean, sort of. Like Slade been part of my life really for like 60 years, you know, from the mid-60s, and I just moved on, you know, and it was nice working with different musicians, and I have the Don Powell band, working with some English musicians, and over here in Denmark I've been working with some Danish musicians, which has been fantastic. I started with them first quite a few years back, and I didn't know the guys. My wife knew of the guys. He was in a famous band, and sort of Eric, all different people, different bands, and we have a great time together. And it's nice being able to record together. At first we just recorded sort of standard songs, well-known songs that we all knew, so we could get to learn to work together, and it's been fantastic.
And was that something that just came to you, the possibility to do and create Don Powell Band? Or did you have some time where you were thinking, okay, what am I going to do now? Am I going to retire and just enjoy life?
It was a bit like that, and it wasn't until so it was a guy named Craig Fenney, bass player, guitarist in England, and he said, you've had a fantastic life, sort of thing, but there's still chance, and we can do some things, and we got some English musicians together, and we did some recordings, and the one nice thing that while I was doing it, when I was with Slade, we did quite a few shows with Susie Quattro and Sweet. And then it was Susie Quattro's husband, Rainer, who was a promoter from Germany. He mentioned to Susie about doing a different offshoot thing, and Andy Scott, myself and Susie got together and we did some recordings together, and we released a CD which went into the charts in a lot of the Australian territories, and and we did a tour there, the three of us, and that was great fun. Sort of thing. That was mainly covers as well, but we did quite a few original songs as well on the CD, and it's again it's a nice learning for me, playing with different musicians. You learn all the time. And I can remember I've been with Slade for so many years, and it become like it's like a machine. But when you start working with other people, it's like, it's a new learning point. The same with the Danish musicians, a new learning point, which it's great.
Yeah, and of course you also have to put yourself a little bit more up. Of course, you always put yourself up when you played with Slade and things like that to be ready, But when you play with new people, you also have to prove something. Because the people in Slade, you were part of it, and you and Dave were running Slade alone for many, many years. I don't know how many years, but it was all business as usual.
Yeah.
But I guess when you play with Susie, she had and Andy Scott, they had some expectations, so in some way they all try to do a little bit better than they normally do.
I think that's what it is. But it was good. It puts a new lease of life into you, sort of thing, and it was great fun learning, sort of playing with different people. Who have different styles as well. So it's that is something new. And it was really enjoyable, and the same with the Danish musicians. You're learning all the time, which it's wonderful. I'm in a wonderful business like that, at least playing with different musicians, and it's a really fantastic learning curve.
And you also play with Danish musicians now. You've been telling. Do you go on tour with some people sometimes and play live, or is it mainly in the studios today? Mainly
in the studio. We released a CD already, but we start soon again that we're going to be doing some videos and maybe do some more recordings. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's no stress anymore. The fun is back into it, and it's we have nothing to prove, so it's nice just go in and just have fun between ourselves playing, and we'll just see what happens.
And at the moment you're in Copenhagen recording, I think, right?
Yeah.
But do you also record here in Jylland? Do you have places where you go to do recordings also in Jylland with bands?
Yeah, I've been doing some recordings in Varde. You know, sort of, it's the Danish band The Glam. They have their own recording studio there, and they let me use their studio. And while the COVID situation was on, I couldn't travel anywhere. But the guys in England, the musicians in England, the Don Powell band, they were recording tracks, and then they send the files to the studio in Varde. I would go along and put my drums on afterwards, you know. So it's a lot different today.
It's much easier today.
I think so. It's funny. It shows how things have changed. I remember when I walked into the studio in Varde, I was looking for the tape machine. I said, "Where's the tape machine?" You know, and they say, "When was the last time you were in the studio?" It goes on to that now, you know. But I mean, it's a new learning curve, Steve. You know, I suppose in a way, you are always learning with this business.
Mm. And how was it in the old days with Slade? Did you go in and play all of you together, or did you go one at a time?
Yeah, all together. When we first went into the studio, we went in with our stage equipment, everything like that, and we went in. You don't need all that, you know, sort of, and we just went in and played all together, and Noddy Holder always sang at the same time. You know, sort of thing, and that was great. But that's the way it was then. I prefer those days. I prefer those days when it was like a band in the studio playing. The same as what I'm doing now with the Dreamers, the Danish musicians, all together in the studio together playing like it used to be. And the same with the Don Powell band in the UK. All in the studio together playing, and it's wonderful.
It gives another soul when you're all in it together.
I think it's great because there's more of it's more of a feeling when you're playing with other musicians, and like you said, there's a soul there, you know, because when you're sort of doing things bit by bit, you do the guitar first, and the bass player, then the drums. There's something a bit sort of cold about it, you know, but like what I've been doing over the last few years, all the musicians together in the studio playing together, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. So, and it's not difficult to find playmates here in Denmark.
No, there's some great musicians, and I've been lucky enough to meet quite a few, you know, Danish musicians, and I've been having a wonderful time.
Yeah. And what do you do? And if we go a little bit back to now we are local TV, so we have to be a little bit local. So what do you do in a normal day time in Silkeborg when it's not raining? Do you spend a lot of time in the forest nearby or walking? When you're not in the studio, of course.
I'm going to blow the myth now, and sort of like to blow the rock and roll myth, and sort of I do a lot of work in the garden.
You like that?
I like that. Yeah, I've been doing a lot. And it's so strange that when I've done some things in the garden, I watch every day to see if what's happening, you know, is anything growing there or whatever. And I've got the hothouse where we've been growing vegetables, you know, things like that. And I'm totally blowing the rock and roll life now. But I go to the fitness centre every morning just to, you know, keep in trim.
And it's important for
all of us. I think so. When you come off the road, when you've been off the road, sort of like, I remember when in the 70s particularly, when we used to be touring non-stop, and if we did come off the road for maybe a few weeks, and then when you go back and you say, oh, wow, it takes a few days to get back into it, to get the arms and the limbs moving again. But that's what it was then, you know. But yeah, I've got a wonderful life.
That's very important. And if you are finished with your own garden, you can always come by my garden.
Well,
That's
what I've been doing where I live. People ask me to sort of do things for them. I do with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, so that's okay. You know, sort of, yeah. It's nice therapy, actually.
It is actually, and you get stressed. You don't get all stress away when you walk. You don't get any stress when you walk there. You just get empty all your worries and things like that. You just focus on doing the gardening.
There's no sort of time schedule, you know, so I don't have to be there. I don't have to do this. I can do the potatoes. I can do the carrots, and so I'm okay. I'm blowing the myth here.
But we also we have a lot of music in Denmark.
Yeah.
Also, do you go to a lot of concerts yourself? I know when some of your old friends is coming by, you of course go to see them. But do you go out and watch a lot of concerts?
Yes, I like to do that. I like to see. I think no matter how much you've done yourself or throughout your career, you can always learn something. You know, you go to see bands, you know, especially young bands today coming up, and there's always something to learn. Or that, you know, things like that, and that's what I like. I like that. It's good, and you can sort of take it back and use it yourself. You know, sort of thing. It's great. I remember when I first came here to Denmark in Silkeborg, I was asked to do a few lectures in the schools, you know, and which was quite interesting, just the young kids, and they've got their own little bands, you know, and we get up and play, and these young guys, you know, sort of 12, 13, 14-year-olds are great players, you know. So I remember the one time we were playing some Lenny Kravitz, and we were playing some Black Sabbath things as well, did it, and when we finished, and there's this young guitarist says, "Yeah, you're a great drummer for an old man." But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that the young people, you know, maybe don't know anything about Slade.
No.
That you are playing the drums in Slade. You know?
No, they've got no idea. It's funny, you know. It's the same no matter where we go to all over the world. People only remember Merry Christmas. You know, it's a strange thing. We've had 24 hits, you know, so 6 number ones, and all they remember is Merry Christmas.
And we hear that every Christmas, actually.
But I don't know whether you know the story, because when we recorded that was in New York in 1973. That was the year he came out. We were on a world tour. We did UK, and we did a big 12-week American tour. Then we were off to Australia and Japan after that, and we had a week off in New York in the summer of '73, and that's when we recorded Merry Christmas, when it was 100 degrees heat wave in New York.
And as I remember it, maybe I remember wrong, but wasn't that just after you had your accident?
Yes.
You had to remember. So I think you told me that before, but your memory was not so good at that time. So it. I was
not.
You had to be carried into the studio.
Well, I put on my drums, and Noddy Holder always used to do a guide vocal when we did recording any tracks, and he was just shouting to me, you know, what came next. Oh, it was the middle eight next, and we stop here. You know, he'd be shouting it, so I knew, you know, the thing. And I'm going to let the cat out of the bag now, because if you listen to Merry Christmas, because the drums that I put on afterwards as well, if you listen to Merry Christmas very close at the very end, you'll hear one snare drum beat where I forgot to stop. But yeah, I've let the cat out the bag now, but you have to listen very hard. You'll hear one snare drum beat where I forgot to stop.
Amazing. I remember also you told me a story a long time ago that you were out playing live shortly after you recorded that, and you were carried into the stage because you after this accident with your legs, and then you got, of course, standing applause, and then you went. You were sitting behind the drum still. The other ones went off stage. They were, and then they came back on stage again. And then I don't know if it was Noddy who shouted, "Okay, let's do Merry Christmas." Yeah. And you were saying, how is it going?
Yeah, yeah. I said, how does it go? And I said to Jim Lee, sing it to me. Just sing the start. It sounds. I mean, it is incredibly funny, you know. But it was quite sort of disturbing for me at the time, because it was like, what? How does it go? How does it go? Once we started, it was okay, but Jim came up and he was singing it to me, you know, sort of thing. But it's strange, sort of sorry, to sort of let people know, you know, these little stories that go on. You know,
that's interesting for people.
It is. It's fantastic. I mean, I love these stories when I hear them about different bands, you know, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it was very strange. That sing it to me. How does it go? It was number one. It already sold over 1 million copies.
But later on, you remember it. Next time, you remember.
Yeah, next time you'll be okay.
The song. Right. And actually, as I remember it, also when I've been working with Slade earlier, even if it was not Christmas, you were still playing it from time to time on the concerts.
We had to when we did the big festival. The Reading Festival back in the late 70s, we finished with, it was in the summertime, and we played Merry Christmas. And we didn't play, the crowd just sang it. We were just sort of conducting them while they sang Merry Christmas. It's amazing. And it's incredible. I think I remember when I was in England, when I was in the supermarket doing some shopping, and this guy came over. He was a fan from the 70s. He had his little daughter with him, and we were just talking. And he said to her daughter, "You know who this is?" "No." You know the group Slade?" And she go, "Oh, don't they sing about Christmas?" It's one of those things. It's wonderful. Those things. It's wonderful.
Do you still talk with the other guys in Slade?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably be seeing Nod in the beginning of December, because about 2 or 3 times a year, about 30 of us, 30 musicians, actors and writers, we get together and have a lunch in London all together. And some wonderful stories there that come out, you know, sort of from different people. There's a guy there, can I mention this?
Yes.
There's a guy there, Clem Catini's name, he's a drummer from way back from the early 60s. He went into studio work. He's played drums on over 200 hit records, 65 number ones he's played drums on.
That's amazing.
And that when we're there at the lunch and we're talking about certain records, I say, "Yep, I played drums on that one. Yep, yeah, and that one. I did that. Yeah, I did that one." You know, and it's great. It's. I mean, that to me, I could talk to that man all day.
Yeah.
You know.
So then you would not have time to talk with Noddy and Jim if they were there.
Well, we do. We have a laugh, but I mean, sort of. But we've spent so many years together, so it's sort of, we speak at the end sort of thing when we finish going around the circle, and we talk at the end. You know.
Is it all 4 of you who meet at that?
No, it's
or is it only
recently. Still, there's only been Noddy Holder and myself.
Okay.
You know, so yes, and no, it's a great afternoon, lovely afternoon.
And that's a tradition. How long have that tradition been running?
It's been going. I think maybe for about just 5 or 6 years now. But we do it maybe 2 or 3 times a year, depending on how we're all on all our schedules that we can make it.
That's great thing to do.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. And I remember some time ago. It's maybe couple of years ago, there was a little bit rumor out that you and Jim will start doing something together again, and maybe something new Slade was coming up and things like that. Whatever happened to that? Was there any hold in those rumors, or was it only rumors?
Well, I have Jim invited me to play some drums on a few of his solo tracks, which was quite nice. It was just sort of, actually it was with 2 guys, Johnny Howells, who was a vocalist, and Mickey Marson, who was the guitarist. They were the 2 guys who got me started playing drums about 1963. And Jim, before he became a member of Slade, used to come and watch us play in local venues around our hometown. And Jim's been recording Johnny and Mick, and he asked me to come along and play drums on the sessions, which is a lot of fun. And especially with Jim and myself working together again.
Yeah, and when we talk about memories, I would like to go a little bit back, because you've been writing this book here. Look what I done, Don Powell, my life in Slade. And How come you decided to make the book, and how did it end up being written? You wrote together with Lise Lyng Falkenberg, Danish woman.
Well, actually, because like we mentioned before, how I need to keep diaries every day, and my wife Hannah was reading the diaries the one time she was like laughing. She said, "You have to put this into a book." And I said, I don't know who to ask. And Lise Falkenberg, the Danish writer, I'd already done a few interviews with her, and I thought, I wonder if Lisa will be up for it. And then she said, yeah. And we had a few meetings, and we, a bit of talks about different stories and things. And then she said, listen, Don, she said, you have to open up to me. She said, because people who know you will know, so, oh, he didn't mention that, or he conveniently hasn't mentioned this or that. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I gave her all my diaries, and I said, but I want to read it first. I don't want to cause any divorces. I said, I don't have to go into hiding, I said, so I need to read. And she was great. She says, I'm not that kind of writer anyway, so you will read everything that I do. And she did a fantastic job. She did a great job.
And the book, is that from the beginning of your life, growing up?
All the way, from the very start. She did a great job. She travelled to England. She spoke to my eldest sister. She spoke to quite a few. Johnny and Mick, who I started playing with in 1963. She spoke with them, spoke with different people. And no, she did a great job. Her research was incredible.
So when you read it, came new stories for yourself you forgot about, maybe?
Oh yeah, there's a few things I think, oh yeah, that was good. It was actually good point there, Steve, because it was just as interesting for me to read it as somebody else.
How was it growing up? Where did you grow up? And did you grow up with a large family or small family?
Well, I've got my two sisters and my brother, and we lived in just a small house. My brother and myself shared a bedroom, and it was a very industrial area around Wolverhampton, Birmingham, lots of steel factories, things like that. And no, it was. We had a wonderful childhood. I remember both my parents both went to work. They're both working in factories, and we had holiday vacations every year. Only in England we go to the south coast, maybe. I had a wonderful childhood, Steve.
What about school? Were you good in school?
I was okay, but I was a bit. There's certain subjects. I mean, history I liked a lot, but then in those days when I was 40, I was into athletics. I used to do a lot of long distance running. I ran from my hometown, which is Wolverhampton. I ran in the local club there, doing like cross country, things like that. And I joined the local boxing club, and I did things like that. But I've had an hearing problem since I was a baby, so my doctor advised me, not to carry on, because if
somebody hit you on the
in case it did like real damage, and actually I'm actually classed as clinically deaf.
Okay.
I wear hearing aids, sort of thing.
But have you done that all your life? Or?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, since I was about 4 or 5 years old. It's helped being on, because Slade is such a loud band, and it's helped me on stage being partly deaf.
So you would not have been playing soft songs like Carpenters, then you had been in trouble.
Oh yes, I don't think I could handle that. Karen Carpenter's perfect for that, but no, sort of. But
and she was good drumming also, Karen.
I've been, fun enough you saying that, mentioned the Carpenters, Steve. I watched the Carpenter story just a few days ago, and with Richard, her brother, I mean, they did some fantastic record. What a voice, that is so unique, that voice of hers. Sadly, she's no longer with us, but there you go.
Yeah, but back to the hearing, how did your parents discover that you had problems hearing and that you needed hearing?
That's an interesting point, I don't know. I think I did. They used to discharge a lot. you know, and I found out when I was about 13 or 14 that I did have infections in my ears, and I had operations, you know, and the hearing aids never came into the picture in those days, but then when I started sort of playing the music, it was a big help in a way, because with maybe the different frequencies, you know, it didn't really affect me, or the volume didn't really affect me. And with my monitors on stage, I used to have them like louder than Concorde taking off, you know, sort of thing. But that was wonderful. Yeah. It's helped. It helped in a way.
But how did it affect you in the childhood? You know, what did it do for you in the childhood? Did it give you any troubles in the childhood when you had to go to school to hear what the teacher was telling and things like that?
I learned to lip read.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was okay. I managed, you know, because that's all I knew, you know. So it wasn't anything, you know, sort of. And now, if I don't have my hearing aids in, I tell my wife, Hannah, you have to face me and speak to me because I have to lip read, you know, sort of thing. And she says, put your hearing aids in, you know. But it got to the point where no one else, and the children in the house, they couldn't stay in the same room when I had the TV on because the volume was so loud. So
even the neighbor could hear it.
That's it. It was okay. That's it. Because I remember I was playing music one time. The next door neighbour, and so, oh, I'm sorry. No, it's wonderful. We like listening to your music as well. So yeah, I mean, it's
good. You're a good DJ then.
That's it. You'd be good, yeah. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Steve.
And you chose athletic because most English boys chose football, I think, right?
Yeah.
But you never had interest in football?
I couldn't play football. I was not good. I was useless at football. I don't know whether, you know, this, if we had a team, you know, play the team, they used to put me as far away as possible. I just used to run up and down the field, but I never got a chance to kick the ball. No, they wouldn't pass me the ball because they knew I was no good. So I used to run up and down, but nothing ever happened. Athletics was my thing, you know.
Yeah. And when did the music start? When did you start getting interested in music, listening to music, and what bands were interesting you?
It was probably from my youth club days, really. You know, so there were the days of playing table tennis, and we used to have a little record player, and playing music like that, you know, sort of thing. And it wasn't until like Johnny Howes and Mickey Marson, they'd heard that I was interested in drums, because I played drums in the Boy Scouts then before, a few years before, and I was sort of interested in that, and they'd heard about it from a school friend, and they came to the youth club and asked me if they both play guitar and sang, if I'd like to sort of play drums with them. I said, well, I don't know, what do I have to do, you know, sort of thing. I didn't have any drums then. Actually, my first set of drums, a very old Olympic kit, I borrowed from a school friend. And I had them for so many years, you know. He never asked for them back. I don't know what happened to them. But we used to, Johnny the singer, his father had quite a big house, so we could rehearse in one of the rooms in his house. We were just playing cover songs then, you know, things that were maybe in the hit parade, or, you know, things like that. They were a few years older than me. So they were into like people like Chuck Berry and Eddie Cochran. I'd never heard of this music before, and it was like a revelation to me. I thought, this is fantastic. I never heard this before, and that's what got me into it. There's just the three of us, and we used to play mainly like youth clubs or wedding parties and things like that. And but great, we only had like, it was just. Like with the drums that I borrowed, and Mick and John used to go through the same amplifier, you know, and if we had playing a youth club, we used to take the equipment on the bus, you know, sort of thing. Then there was no roadies there, no limousines, no transport there, on the bus, you know, sort of thing. But I remember the one time we've been playing, like, at cinemas before the film started. We go maybe play a few songs, and we were playing at wedding parties or birthday parties. And I remember Johnny came. We were playing at this. He got this booking for us at this club. He says, "Oh, we're getting paid." I said, "We get paid for this?" You know, I mean, we got 50 kroner, you know, sort of thing like so, and that was fantastic. You know, I thought, we get paid, but no, it's a wonderful apprenticeship, if you know.
And didn't you ever consider when you were carrying all the drums to the buses and things like that, that it would have been easier playing guitar or something like that?
It was always mentioned, or maybe my harmonica. You know, yeah, it was a thought that went through my head sometimes.
And you actually answered my question before I even asked it, because normally back in those days they were saying that it was the rich boys who played the drums because it was so expensive to buy drums. So it was only the people who had parents who could afford it that the kids could get those drum sets. But you were lucky that you could borrow it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like I said, from David, you know, my school friend, we were in the same class. We lived very close to each other with our parents as well. And he had this kit, and he was great to take it. I'm not using it. Take it, you know. And then, you know, sort of, it came to the point when I bought my first drums. It was fantastic. These beautiful, shining new drums, you know, sort of thing. But my parents helped me buy that because they knew that was what I wanted to do. So they helped me to sort of pay for them, you know.
And did you have did you take some education also, just to be sure, because you were not sure that you could make a living out of playing drums?
Well, I thought I don't know why, but I thought I'll take some lessons to learn to read drum music. Don't ask me why. But when I went to have a few lessons with this guy, and I thought, well, I already know what he's showing me, and what do I want to read music for? You know, it's okay if you're playing in a big orchestra, things like that. I thought, well, I don't want to read music, and I already know what he's teaching me anyway. So that only lasted for a few months.
And then you didn't take any other education, just to work in a factory, with something else? You just focused on playing the drums?
Yeah, I've learned by just listening to records.
Yeah,
you know.
And you're not that old when you're 71. How old were you when you had the first hit with Slade?
71, so I was born in 46, so that'd be sort of 50, 20. I was 26, you know.
26 years old.
No, 24, 25, something like that. Yeah.
So, but could you already at that time, before you made the first hit, make a living out of playing music?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, we could work. We did the month, you know, the month at the same club in Germany, you know, sort of thing like that, which was everybody wanted to do that because the Beatles did it.
Okay.
And they thought the same kind of thing would rub off, you know, that if the Beatles did it, it may happen to us as well, you know. But that was a good education, a good point there, Stig. That was a good education because the first time we went to Dortmund for a month. We played this club in Dortmund called the Habanera Club. We used to play about 6-7 hours a night, and we got, I think it was 150 kroner a week each. You know, that was what we got paid. You know, but it was great education. You know, a great learning. You know, sort of playing all those hours every night. You know,
what clubs did you play in Germany?
They were just this club was called the Habanera Club in Dortmund. It was just like a little club where sort of like live music, which was us, and actually there was some English army camps in Dortmund. A lot of the English soldiers used to come down to the club every night. But yeah, and it was. No, it was a good time.
So you made a living playing in Dortmund.
Yeah.
So and how did you get to the point where you started doing records? What happened?
Well, that was the same again. I don't know how we came about. We had this recording audition for Fontana Records in London. I don't think they're around anymore. And there's this tiny studio in London. And we went down to it was basically for a recording test to see whether the studio liked us. It was like all part of Fontana Records at the time, and the head of the company and the studio, a man named Jack Baverstock, he really liked us. He said, "I'd like you to make an album." We go, What? What? He said, "I'll let you have the studio for a week." You know, I mean, we weren't writing songs then. There's a couple of things that we made up in the studio, and it was just us and Roger Wake, who was the engineer. It was a great learning for us. We basically, that album, it was released, called Beginnings. It was basically our stage show at the time.
And what name did you make that album under?
Then we changed. Then that was Ambrose Slade then.
Okay.
But we had released a single in the mid-60s before. Can I go back to that?
Yes, please.
We played this club in London, and this American guy called Kim Fowley, he was there at the club, and he really liked us. He'd done like the Hollywood Argyles, like Alley Oop, and you know a lot of stuff from the early '60s, late '50s, and later he did They're Coming to Take Me Away. But he was called Napoleon the 14th. Then he was a bit of a nutcase, and he took us in the studio, and we weren't writing songs then, like I said before. And one of our favourite songs that we used to play on stage was a song called "You Better Run" by the Young Rascals, American band. And he said we recorded that. You know, we had like about 3 hours in the studio. You know, because that's all he said. We only need 3 hours. You know, and then we did this song. And if you listen to it, it was meant to be a fade out. You know, so we just carried on playing, and we just sort of fell apart at the end because we faded out. He didn't fade it out; he just left it all in, and it was released in 1966. He never did anything, you know, but he got us on a big label in the UK, Columbia Records, and it was a great experience. Nothing ever happened, you know, but it was a start. It was a learning for us.
Yeah.
And that's when we met Chas Chandler.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it started. Then everything started later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I remember you told me also was it Bahamas you were on once, or was it Bahama or Jamaica or someplace you played?
Bahamas,
was it Bahamas, yeah. And you lived in a place where you spend more money eating and drinking than what you earned on the playing.
We'd never been in a hotel before. We were booked in a hotel. We'd never been in a hotel before, and we had a bed each. I mean, it was always sort of like there was 2 twin rooms. Noddy Holder and Dave Hill had the one room. Jim Lee and myself had the other, but there's an adjoining door, so that was always open. And outside, it was like I said, we'd never been in a hotel before. There was these big glass doors, and there was like some water, like a lagoon there, and there was Sean Connery's yacht there, and Frank Sinatra's yacht there, you know, sort of people like that, and you know, sort of thing. And this club was not in a very nice part of the island, you know, and it was a bit of a, I think the club could have done with being knocked down and rebuilt, if you know what I mean. But we were having a great time in the Bahamas. Never been like anything like this before, and we never got paid, or you know, but we didn't care because we had the hotel and we were living and eating there. Wrong, the bill wasn't being paid, and that's why we were there for 3.5 months trying to pay this bill off, you know, sort of thing. We never paid it off in the end. We had to sort of escape from the island, you know. But we were just 4 young kids. We didn't care. We just didn't care, you know. But that was I remember when we met Chas Chandler, who became our manager, record producer. He said he knew of the story. We told him the story. He said, but that's why you're still together, because there was only the 4 of you on that island. All you had was yourselves, and it made us so close.
And then you got success. What was the first song that?
Get Down and Get With It.
That was the first one that was hitting the charts.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That it was basically a stage song. We always used to. We heard it. Some of the hotels and pubs we played in our hometown. This DJ, he always used to finish with Little Richard's Get Down and Get With It, and the crowd used to go up dancing. So we learned that for stage. And when we met Chas, and he obviously came to see us in concert, or some of the clubs we were playing, and he said that I think that's going to be the first. That should be the first single, and that was 1971, and that he got to about number 15 or 16 in the British charts, which was the start.
Yeah.
And that's when Chas said, "Now start writing your own songs."
And how did you start writing your own songs? How did you work it out?
Well, at the time, Jim Lee and myself used to write together, and Dave Hill and Noddy Holder wrote together. And the first album we did with Chas Chandler, Play It Loud, most of the songs on that album are by myself and Jim Lee. And then the one time Jim Lee and Noddy Holder got together to write, and that's when 'Cause I Love You came out, and that was 1971, and we'd already had the sort of the start we Get Down and Get With It went into the top 20 in England, and that's when Chas said, "Write your own songs," and Jim and Nod came up with 'Cause I Love You, and that was our first #1 in 1971.
How long time did you play together in Slade with the original setup with Jim and Noddy? When did you start? Was it in the 80s you stopped?
No, we started in 1966 was our first time.
But
together.
when did you stop playing together?
Oh, it was about 80. Was it 80? No, we had a hit in 91. But it was around 92, I think, we stopped playing together.
And what was the reason for that?
Well, I think we'd done all we could do, and Noddy Holder wanted to go on to different things. He'd had an offer to do some radio shows, and work on radio, and he had a few acting jobs that he did, and that we sort of drifted apart. We're still friends with each other, but we sort of drifted apart basically, sort of thing. But and then Dave and myself got together, started doing some shows. We got a band, actually it was Susie Quattro's ex-husband Len Tuckey, who said that there is a market out there in Europe, and that's when Dave and myself formed a band together.
That was Slade 2 you made?
Yeah.
Oh, and did you ask Noddy and Jim if they wanted to go back first?
Yeah, well, we said it first, and they did. Jim didn't want to go on without Nod, and Nod had enough, sort of thing. He was doing different other things then, so he moved on,
And was it difficult to find the right singer, I think?
That was the worst thing, to find somebody to sort of compete with Noddy Holder,
Yeah, because what did you choose? Did you choose somebody who could sound a little bit like him, or did you decide that it should not be somebody sounding too close to Nod?
Well, nobody could sound like Nod. I mean, we realised that when we had quite a few auditions that we did, and because the keys that we recorded them or played them in was so high, the way that Noddy Holder sang, that anybody who came for the auditions, they couldn't sing like that. So we had to lower the keys, and the first one we came was like Steve Worley. It was great, So and Len Tuckey helped a lot, Susie's ex-husband, and we started working a lot in Europe again.
Just coming back a little bit, because Steve Worley was the first one to take over after Noddy, and he's also a brilliant singer, actually, Steve Worley. But were you and Dave a little bit nervous for the reaction from the audience when you start playing again, that you're out there without Noddy and Jim? How would the reaction be from the audience?
It was a bit like that, when we first did it, but it was strange. Just like you said, it was a bit like that, sort of after so many years with the same 4 people. But it worked great. I think it was Sweden was the first couple of shows, and it just worked great straight away. Dave and myself looked at each other on stage and we thought, it's working, and it was a lovely feeling. Because like I said, after being with the same guys for nearly 60 years, where we knew exactly what each of us was going to do, you know, to come back with a totally different lineup. We thought at first this is going to be difficult, but it worked great.
And actually, when we are here in Randers, you actually started working with one of our local famous booking agencies, CB and OLB Booking, and Kalle, who actually had it back then.
That's
do,
it.
Do you remember him when you started working with Kalle?
Yeah, that's right, because I mean, he came and it was like a family, being a really nice guy, and he gave us quite a bit of work, actually, you know, so we got lots of fond memories. Sadly, Kalle's no longer with us, but I got a lot of nice memories there.
Yeah, and I guess that you started spending more time in Randers, because I know Kalle very often booked the bands to stay locally here in Randers.
Yeah.
That must have been some of the first experience of Randers back then, when you started to play in Slade again with Kalle.
But yeah, with the different bands, yeah, but it was a great time. And Kalle's a lovely man. And like I said, when we work here, sort of Randers, and he had an English guy, sort of Alan, who used to drive us.
Alan Menzies, yeah.
Yeah, who was living here. You know, I think he's moved back to England now. But it was a lovely time.
Yeah, and I can imagine you also were driving with AP, with his bosses, AP with a very dark voice. He's dead today. Also, yeah. Peter, yeah.
Peter, yeah.
Limousine, yeah.
I think he smoked too many Galois, I think.
Yes. Yeah. And it was also nice work. He was such a nice guy also.
Wonderful, yeah, wonderful. He was always there. Every morning he was ready for us when we were leaving the hotel. The bus was warm and ready. Right, Peter, yeah.
And later on, his buses started to be a little bit too old, I remember. I was always worried about if it will work the whole tour when he was out driving.
Well, a few holes started to appear in the buses, you know. So, yeah, but lovely memories though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
yeah. And did you ever think about what else could I have been doing in my life instead of just playing the drums? Have you ever thought about that, or was it just like, this is my life?
No, I mean, sort of, no, it's strange that you mentioned that. Sort of, I wouldn't know, you know, sort of thing. That's all I've been doing since I was a teenager, you know, sort of thing. And it's been wonderful. I mean, sort of, I wouldn't know, you know, like I said, now I'm doing gardening now, but I'm still playing drums. But no, I never thought about it.
No. So there was no thoughts about being a gardener instead?
No. That was just a part-time.
Yeah. And what now? Do you have any goals you want to do? Is there something you think, okay, I need to do these things also before I don't do anything anymore?
Not particularly. I mean, I still enjoy playing drums, which I'm still being able to do. Like I said, with the Danish musicians, you know, the Dreamers, and with the English band, the Don Powell band, and you know, so my life is fulfilled.
And do you still travel to England a lot, or
not a lot, not so much. I don't really need to, but when I do, it's nice. And when, like I say, if I go back to my hometown, see my school friends, and like say Mick and Johnny, who I started playing drums with in 1963. Nice to see them, because we have a lot of memories there.
Yeah.
And I still see my friends back in my hometown, Wolverhampton and Bilston. I still see my friends, which is really nice.
And you never get any of those big stars to Silkeborg? Any of your friends?
Oh, yeah.
I remember you had a lot of party with Ozzy Osbourne back in the days. Maybe you should invite him to Silkeborg. You can show him around.
I don't think Silkeborg would like that. But no, I haven't seen Ozzy for many years now. The last time I saw Ozzy was when Sharon came after us with a shotgun.
Was that the last time?
That was the last time I saw him. But yeah, I mean, yeah. But you see the Osbourne show, I mean, there's no acting there, that's Ozzy.
That's how he is.
I try to explain, that's just exactly what he's like.
And if you sit and wonder what was it with the shotgun and things like that in Ozzy Osbourne, you can find on YouTube on our channel, TV Kronjylland, another interview with Don where he talked about that That's a fantastic experience, you know, being shot by Sharon.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. But then maybe after talking about gardening, maybe you get a lot of offers from people around Silkeborg who need a gardener to take care of their garden. They'll be calling you.
Yeah, I have to think of a fee. I don't know what to charge for gardening.
Well, you have to figure that out.
Yes.
If people should look back at you 100 years from now, what would you like to be remembered for?
Just being part of a really great fun band, Slade.
That's the words. Thank you very much for coming by and talk with me.
Thank you, Steve.
Og til jer derude vil jeg gerne sige tusind tak, fordi I valgte at kigge med. Selvom programmet var på engelsk, så håber I har fået meget ud af det alligevel. På gensyn i næste uge.
Welcome to my world. Won't you come on in?